Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Boss Rush Spotlight podcast, the developer and creator interview series by Boss Rush. I am your host, Stephanie Klimov, and today I have your modern knight in shining armor, Tobi, PR manager from Warhorse Studios, the developer behind Kingdom Come Deliverance, and soon to be here, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. How are you?
Living the dream. Thank you for having me. It's nice to be on the show.
Yes, thank you for your time. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but for the audience, I had the pleasure of meeting Tobi at PAX West this year to demo Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. That was kind of high up there on my list of games to check out. Tobi was wonderful, gave me the spiel, and he was very patient when I struggled with a couple puzzles. To be fair, I have this thing, and I know it's my fault. I get in my own head when I'm at a convention and I play a demo for the first time and there's, a big crowd around me, I get extra nervous.
Mm-hmm.
So when I play, all my critical thinking goes out the window.
Don't worry, you did really great. I had completely different people around there, not being able to do anything. So, but you did great. Don't worry.
Oh, thank
Just the
you.
first try, right?
Yes, exactly. So do you want to give like a quick short intro about, who you are and what you do for the company?
Sure. So I'm Tobi. I'm the PR manager at Warhorse Studios, but I'm actually a bit more than that, I guess. So I'm more like a face or voice or something like that of the studio. So I do all the talking, all the presenting, all the events, and all the showing of the game. And I'm with the team for over 10 years already. So I started in 2014, right? Right after the Kickstarter of Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, when they actually find out that, damn, now that we have the money and we have to create a game and have to talk to the people. So that is when they took me in. And since then I'm something like a brand guardian of KCD and trying to push that forward now to the release of KCD 2.
Maybe it's the fantastic mustache and beard. I think that kind of goes on brand. That's pretty awesome.
It's either the mustache or the weapons I'm always carrying around, just in case
Oh my gosh, that's
something
awesome.
goes south. Be prepared, right?
All right. So for those audio listeners, you guys have to definitely check out the video on YouTube as well. So why don't we go through some rapid fire questions or the gauntlet just to
Sure.
get us warmed up, and then we can talk about the game.
Let's do it.
It's afternoon for you, but it's still early morning for me over here. I already had my cup of coffee and I'm only half awake. So what's your ideal form of caffeination to power through your workday?
It's regular black coffee, no milk, no sugar.
Nice. Straightforward. I love it. I love it. I find that way too. When I go to our Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks over here, they have a lot of cool flavors and stuff, but whenever they add it, it's so sweet. It's way
I
too
mean,
sweet for me.
I am an absolute huge sweet tooth, so give me all the donuts they have, but I need to counterweight with something bitter, which is the regular coffee.
Oh, I
But
like that.
I suffer a bit of reflux thingy, so the black coffee is not the best thing for me. But hey, there's so many ways to die.
Yeah.
Let coffee be one of the things.
I feel like we're living parallel lives because I have a sweet tooth. I
Yeah,
love cakes, cookies. I love to bake. I love like
same.
black coffee, simple coffee, and I also have reflux. So I always have a bottle of Tums with me.
Really, there you go.
All
Same
right.
minds.
Yes. So when do you feel you're most productive? Because you are kind of like the face, the figure out of Warhorse. So I'm sure you need to be on whenever they need you, right? So, but when do you feel you're most productive?
Well, that's a very good question. So, work-wise, I mean, that's a probably boring answer, but I work very well and function very well on home office here in my little room I built here. So, not everyone is, of course, productive at home. I'm trying to think that I am, but for me personally, I think the the time when I'm most on fire is probably on events when I'm nonstop presenting the game to press and media and like fans and community and so on. Where on a Gamescom, for instance, for those who don't know, I think Gamescom is the biggest gaming event in the world. It has like 450,000 people or so, and there's also like a press event thing going on where you have, of course, media coming in and out, and like me having 10 presentations a day every like each of them taking 1 hour nonstop without pee breaks. Usually those pee breaks are when I run the trailer or something like that, and then I'm like
Right.
sprinting out and coming back in again. But this is, I think, where I'm most on fire and where
Mhm.
I shine most. So when the spotlight is on me, I guess.
Got it. Man, yeah, I'm sure PAX pales in comparison to Gamescom. I still have yet to go to a Gamescom. I will make it someday. I just need to take that time to fly
Oh yeah,
out.
do it. I can heavily recommend. I can heavily recommend it for press, of course, because they have this dedicated press area where it's a little bit more quiet, and the different publishers and companies and so on, they're trying to woo the press, so with all the nice foods and drinks and stuff like that. But then there's of course also for yeah, regular customers, let's say, or visitors, or community, they can actually play games, and that is a big thing, because on many events in the world, either the tickets are super expensive or there's not enough games to play, so the queues are super long at Gamescom. Of course, if you want to play the latest, I don't know, Assassin's Creed or whatever, then the lines are huge, of course. But there's so many games that you telling me that you weren't able to play a game, I would call you a liar, probably.
I love it. Well, speaking of games, do you have your own favorite gaming genre? Like, what are a couple of your own personal favorite games?
I'm half German, so of course I do love strategy games and tycoons
Yep.
and these kind of things. That's built in our DNA. But something that I keep playing over and over again is, I guess, Crusader Kings.
Ooh,
For the
okay.
longest time, I was refusing Crusader Kings 3 because I played the second one and that was the best and everything. The new crap was nah, but now I would never ever go back to Crusader Kings 2 again. So Crusader Kings 3 is really up, very high up there. Anno 1800, which is a game I'm not sure if it's that popular in the States, but it's like a also economy island builder, build companies and the resource management kind of
Mm-hmm.
things, and everything the Super Nintendo ever released. I'm a huge Super Nintendo nerd.
That is a great
Mhm.
selection of games.
Hmm.
That's awesome. Um, let's see. How about this one? Who, speaking of Nintendo, who do you think is the superior Mario brother, Mario or Luigi?
The superior Mario, of course, but who's the most, who has the deeper, um, let's say, psychological things going on, I think, is Luigi, who has to deal with the fact that he has a very famous brother, but he himself is usually on the sideline, which is something that he has to deal with. But deep down inside, he's a bit of a scary boy, I'd say, but he's getting into big adventures. He's overcoming his fears, actually. So if you're checking Luigi's mansion, for instance, where he's obviously very scared of ghosts, but he had, like, he dealt with them in 3 games already, and he will deal with them in all future games. So I think he has the more interesting, like, insight.
Yeah, character arc. Yeah, I
Mhm.
always like throwing that question in because it's a timeless type of question, and I have a son. He just turned 9, and I have the honor of raising him on great games. Not
Mm.
no offense to Minecraft, Roblox, Fortnite, but I just like there's so many other games out there. So he's
Mm.
obviously into a lot of Nintendo, and him and I get into an quote unquote a fun, jokey argument all the time. He's Team Mario all the way, and I'm Team Luigi all the way. So it's always
Well,
fun.
when I'm playing Super Mario Kart, I would never ever choose Mario and would always go for Luigi. So let's say it like that. Mhm.
Awesome. Well, thank you. That was a lot of fun. I got to get to know you a bit more. Let's change gears and talk a little bit about KCD. I'm going to throw out some fast facts.
Mhm.
We do have a lot of fans of the games, but for those that don't know, KCD or Kingdom Come Deliverance was released in 2018. You guys
Mhm.
received several nominations and accolades like RPG and PC Game of the Year in the 2019 Player Awards. It's an immersive action RPG, captured the hearts of many, so popular that now we await for its sequel to release in early 2025.
Mhm.
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I took a little bit from Steam, so forgive me. So, a thrilling story-driven action RPG. You are playing as Henry, who is on a journey to avenge his murdered parents, taking him from an aspiring warrior to a rebel. KCD2 is set in a rich open world. I would call it almost like a historical fiction type
Hmm.
scenario, right? Set in the 15th century of medieval Europe. Experience the ultimate medieval adventure with authentic first person combat that I also got to experience, and live consequences of your actions, which I also love. Again, releasing, I believe it's February 11th next year. You
Hmm.
can pre order this game on Steam. You do get a bonus, the Lion's
Hmm.
Crest bonus quest. Experience a unique quest line that, once completed, will reward you with the legendary armor and weapon set of the famous Knight Brunswick.
Hmm.
Anything that maybe you want to toss in, or
That is, I mean, that is exactly what we wrote on the Steam page. So very good. But yeah, it's, I think, generally, it is. I mean, it sounded like you have to know the first game, but you absolutely don't have to. I think we tried really hard, and I hopefully we nailed it as well. That we developed in the game in a way that you do not need to know the first game in order to enjoy it. But generally, I'd say for those who played KCD1, I think KCD2 will now will it's definitely a huge evolution of the first game, not a revolution. So. We took everything that worked great and that we liked and that the people liked, and then pushed it, just made it so much more better. But meanwhile, all the elements from the game were somehow updated, upgraded, made better, more streamlined, more accessible. So I think generally it will be just such a much more experience. Nothing bad about KCD1, absolutely not. But this is now really several level beyond
right, taking
the first
lessons
game.
learned and just making it even better, right?
Mm, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we are trying.
Yeah. So before we talk about those pillars that you discussed with me at PAX,
Hmm.
I did just want to recap. How was the rest of PAX for you? Was it just busy nonstop? And how was the feedback on KCD2 when people you're watching people play?
Yeah, so far I need to knock on wood here. So far the feedback is really great of the game. Not only from press who know the first game, but also press who never played it before. Plus we had several yeah, community, no, not community events, but hands-on events. So for instance, on PAX, on Gamescom, people could play the game, and they pretty much confirmed what I said earlier. The feedback so far is really good. PAX in itself is a great event. I do like the PAXs a lot. PAX West, PAX East, great events. Mainly because it's, well, it's pretty much the last survivor in the on the American event market, kinda, unfortunately. So with E3 gone, the PAXs are one of the few that are still there. But it's a great opportunity to actually meet the people, and by the people I mean the players. It's rare that you get so close to them that you can talk to them, shake hands, ask for direct feedback, and so watch them play, learn from the struggles or from what they appreciate, and so on. And the same we did at PAX West. It was the first time, maybe even the last time now that I'm thinking about it, where the American audience was able to play the game. We had, I
Mhm.
think, 20 PCs or so there, so there was quite a huge amount of opportunity to play KCD. The PCs were always occupied. The feedback was good, really. When, of course, since KCD is trying to be a historical game, that is maybe a bit different than than the regular mainstream, I think, or the what is what's available on the gaming market. You have to explain it maybe a tiny little bit more. So on to European press, I usually highlight the historicalness and that there's real characters and so going on. In the States, I'm trying more to push the combat, and that it's based on real martial arts, and that you can actually be part of that, and try to find your way in there. Where I was in Japan last week, where I tried where the entire story and everything was really so exotic for the press I was talking to, that I tried to compare it to something like a European samurai story. You lose everything. Now you have to travel the world and become someone, which they immediately understood and got, and then were hyped for it. So yeah, it's a great game, and as I said, I'm really looking forward to the release. And so far, so good. Knocking on wood,
Mhm.
the game seems to be in a very good shape and on a very good way.
Nice. I'm really glad you mentioned that because I
Mhm.
was curious, with your studio based in Europe,
Mhm.
I'm based in the Americas, and the reach this game has, I'm sure that I wouldn't say tactics, but the way you need to approach audiences all over the world should be different. Like you got Western audience, Eastern audience, and then you got to break it down even further. Like I'll be honest with you, I'm not really quite sure how much different is the European audiences over the Americas. Like that I
Mhm.
never really kind of thought about it much till now.
I would say
Oh,
there are differences. You can see this also in all other products, not only video games.
mm,
Coca-Cola markets its drinks differently in the States than in Europe, and same goes with games and movies and music and I don't know what. So it's just kind of try to understand your customers or your community and so on, and try to adapt a little bit to what they might like. Um, but overall, it does. Of course, it doesn't change anything in the game itself. It's still the one
right.
game for everyone. It's just a little bit that we are trying to highlight, maybe a bit, tiny bit different, depending on
Mhm.
who we talk to and so on. But I think that's a very natural thing
Yeah.
for all products of the world.
Yeah, and I do believe PAX West was kind of the last big thing in the Americas for gaming for the year. I mean, not counting Video Game Awards, which is different to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, any more events in the European or Asian market?
So PAX West was right after Gamescom, so that was really difficult for me. So Gamescom ended on I don't know, a Monday or so, and on a Wednesday I was flying to Seattle already. So that was kind of tricky. We did uh, Japan, as I said, a week ago or 2 weeks ago. And now in front of me is Paris Games Week. That's next
Ooh.
week, and Poznan Games Arena, which is a Polish event. So Paris and Poland. By the end of the year, there's a few Czech events. So our studio is based in Czech Republic. Prague is the capital city, for those who might know, and so a few Czech events, and then we have next year, and next year is the release in February, of course. And I'm not sure right now if we will do PAX East. They unfortunately moved. I think it's in
I
April or
know
something, or April, May or something.
May. I think May.
May.
Yeah, they
There you
pushed
go.
it out. I'm like, I don't know. Okay.
It's super far in the back. I mean, I really no idea why they do that. Maybe they want to take over what is left from E3 or something. I don't know. But if it would be March, it would be a tiny little bit better. But who
Right.
knows? Maybe I have a DLC by May, so PAX East
Right.
would be something I would love to visit, of course.
Okay. Well, just as a side note,
Hmm.
if you are ever in PAX East, I will always be at PAX East because I am based out of Boston, so
Hmm.
that's my neighborhood. So I'm very familiar with it. I will
I can
always
see
be
that
there.
on your shirt, but I have
Oh yeah.
to, yeah, I have to confess something. Give me 1 second.
Oh, oh, I can't wait. So show and tell, guys. I'm all for it. For our audio listeners, Toby's grabbing something. I can't wait to see what it is.
I hope you're ready.
Uh-oh. No
So unfortunately, we can't be friends anymore.
way.
But
Mm-mm.
nah, don't
We
worry.
can be rivals, like a good back and forth. Look at that. Okay.
Absolutely. I unfortunately saw your shirt way too late when we started this recording, so I would have changed
That's
earlier. But hey,
all right.
Anaheim
Now you
Ducks
wear it for the
fan.
rest of the show.
Yeah, it's it's like 30 degrees Celsius in my room. So forgive me, Ducks
Ah,
fans. I have to get rid of your shirt again. But yeah. So the whenever I'm in the United States, I do love the States a lot. Whenever I'm over, I'm trying to see an NHL match. And I've never been able to watch the Bruins because whenever there was PAX East or something, they were all. And I've been to, I don't know, 4 PAXs or 5 PAXs, and they were always on a away streak the time when I was there. So I've never ever managed to see the Bruins live.
Oh, I mean, obviously I'm biased, but it's always fun to see the Bruins play. But in general, like I'm a hockey fan, so as long
Mm.
as it's a good hockey game, I enjoy watching it.
I
So cheers
well,
to
that,
that.
as a Bruins fan, you must appreciate the Czech Republic then, I guess, because you had a lot of huge Czech talent there.
Yes, we
David
do.
Pastrnak being right now one of your, or maybe the star player.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Oh, all right. That just made my day. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So more we can I'm happy to talk hockey anytime, but before we put our listeners to sleep, or maybe not, I don't know. So okay, we talked about the events.
Mhm.
What's the dev team been doing since PAX? Is it just mostly cleanup, optimizing everything, getting ready for launch?
So that's a good question. So, of course, the dev team is working mainly on bug fixing because that is something that we have to do, that we wanted to do. The game is ready as we speak already. It was already finished by around Gamescom and PAX West. The only thing that we are right now trying is, of course, balancing. It's a huge RPG, so you need to make sure that the game is equally difficult at the end
Mm.
and in the beginning and in the middle, and that the shop prices are fine, and that if you steal something in the beginning that you can't immediately get the best weapon, and so on. So there's
Mm,
a lot of RPG stuff going on, and then of course bug fixing because the um, it is a 100 hours game, so it's a huge video game, but you need to make sure that there's really at least the annoying bugs shouldn't be there on the
yeah.
on day one, and the rest will be
Yes.
smoothed out
Thank
on the
you.
way. Yeah, and but I can already promise everyone out there, for those who had played KCD1 on release day, that KCD2 already right now runs way better than KCD1 did on release. So it's
That's
good.
awesome.
It's good. I have no doubts in the performance, for instance, at all. The only thing, as I said, is bug fixing, and we just wanted that more extra time to get it out in a
Yeah.
better shape.
Oh, you love to hear it. You really do. All right, so now I think we're ready. I'm sure you have this basically memorized, but do you mind kind of going over those 3 pillars that you
Mm.
discussed at PAX,
Mm-hmm.
for our
Yeah,
fans to hear
of
about
course.
KCD2?
Of course, whenever I'm trying to, so when I do my presentations for press, I sometimes I know who's coming, so I see, of course, the names and the emails, and some of the people I recognize, and I know that I know them for a longer time. Sometimes I don't recognize the names, neither the outlets, so I can't be quite sure if that person that is coming knows about KCD. So I'm trying to, of course, not bore them with, but everyone likes a good PowerPoint presentation, right? So
Oh, love it. Yes,
I'm
I'm all for it.
firing up my best PowerPoint skills there with my dagger that I'm always carrying around because then my presentations crit 50% more often. But I'm trying to explain what KCD stands for and what the studio
Hmm.
kinda stands for, or how do we understand video games. And I try to explain KCD in 3 pillars. Uh, First of all, is authentically medieval. What I mean by that is that we are trying to base Kingdom Come Deliverance on real medieval elements that could goes from the story that is based on real historical elements to towns, castles, people roaming the world that are all either based on real locations or are somehow inspired by real people. And in that we are building our authentic medieval world. So instead of magic and dragons, you have chicken and sword fighting, I guess. So so we are trying to have like a very deep role playing experience, very immersive role playing experience, without going into the fantastic way. And we strongly believe that the life itself has so many interesting stories to tell that you do not need to come up with a Cinderella castle and 15 towers and a dragon flying around it. That you can take a castle that is actually still standing in Europe, that we built back into the year 1403, and you can actually go there digitally, visit, do this time travel, and have an extremely interesting story full of intrigues and nobles trying to kill each other, but not officially. So you have to find out and who is on which side. And there's an invading king, and your king was abducted, and the country you're living in is in a civil war. You get torn into that civil war. You're part of a guerrilla troop that is trying to sabotage the invading king. So you're trying to really do these infiltration missions and sabotaging missions. But if you look up the history book, you will see that this invading king will actually win at some point. But you are in the midst of that, and you can see this with your own eyes and influence that.
Yeah, real
Immersion.
political intrigue.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, immersion is something I mentioned that already. We are trying extremely hard to make this game as immersive as possible, and I strongly believe that we are at least in the top three, maybe in the top two, maybe even on the top already in the most immersive RPGs there is. And it's all about the details. It's about the little things. It's when you as a player pick up the soup with your spoon, that there's actually a little bit soup on the spoon. It's really, no one might realize that, but for us, this is like super important that the details just fit. You play the game, you look around, and all the people around you, all the things that are happening, all the story beats and the music and everything just feels natural. And that is what we are trying really hard, that you, for instance, walk the city of Kutnahora, you played it yourself, that you walk through that city and you see all those people roaming around doing their stuff. I don't know, the miller is milling and the smith is smithing and the I don't know what. And you watch that and you say, yes, that seems totally plausible. And you don't even think about it. And this is where we shine a lot, I think, where you, when you play the game, that we want you to do the things in there. The mini games require you to try around and fiddle your way through. And if you're lockpicking, it's a little bit difficult. But if you get a level or two, three higher, then you will immediately see that you get better in it, because Henry, the character you're playing, is physically getting better in the video game, so you are learning with him, and it's really you living in this medieval world, and we are trying to offer you or give you this kind of. So it's not an educational game per se. We're not like, this is 100% how it was, because it's a video game, so you do have to do your compromises. But still, I strongly believe that this is the closest you can get if you want to see how the Middle Ages could have looked like, what the struggles could have been, what this particular period, what was going on there in Europe and so on, and you can be part of that. And this ties then, of course, into the epicness of the story, if you want to call it like that, because that is something that's the third pillar we are trying really strongly. It's a story-driven RPG, absolutely, first and foremost. So you are following this grand epic story that is going on there in Europe, or in Bohemia, in the Kingdom of Bohemia, or in the city of Kuttenberg and the surroundings. And you are actively taking part of that. You are in there. You see it with your own eyes, your influences. You learn with it, you grow with it, and you are just part of this grand scheme that is going on. But if you zoom out of that game, it's just a tiny drop in whatever in world's history. But that drop is as epic as it can get, I guess, and you are part of that.
That really resonates with me, because that's how I felt in that tiny slice that I got to play at PAX. I genuinely felt so small in such this big
Mm.
world, but that's how you are in real life. Like when you walk into, and I saw like the muddy street, like muddy streets,
Mhm.
and the characters, they aren't just standing there waiting for you to talk to them. If I'm doing something sneaky, I remember like some lady spotted me and she was saying like, "Oh, you better not cause any trouble." So not that there's anything wrong with the other types of games where you just run around and
Oh
break
yeah, of
pots and
course.
whatever, but
Mhm.
here I actually felt like, whoa, I'm getting sucked into this screen and I'm living 15th century Europe, and the details, like even if I might not immediately register them, I think all the tiny details come together in a puzzle piece to build this huge picture, and I feel like I'm living and breathing this life, and it was
Well,
very exciting.
then mission accomplished, I guess, because that is exactly what we are trying. That the world is reacting to what you're doing. If you're just randomly trying to sneak around on the market and people see you, they will call you out like, "Hey, what the heck are you doing there? Is
Yeah.
something wrong?" if at night there's this let's call it a law or rule that you have to carry a torch around because only thieves and bad guys are lurking in the shadows. So if you're not having a torch out, the guards will talk to you and say, hey, listen, please take that torch out because you should. Fun fact: in that quest you have been playing, you are supposed to steal something from a sword fighting school. If you steal it, you have it in your pocket in your inventory. Of course, if you would then, for instance, not carry it around a torch, and they would approach you, and the guards, I mean, and you would actually answer in a way he wouldn't like or she wouldn't like, then they would call you out and say, okay, listen, so show me your wares, like show me what you got. I have to search you or something, and they will find this stolen item on you, this sword that you were supposed to steal, and they will call you out and say, hey, yo, that's not yours, and you shouldn't do that, and they will take it from you, bring it back, and so on. So, as I said, the world tries to really react to the player's decisions and to the player's choices, and we want that. And you are not a dragonborn, and you're not a chosen one. The world is not waiting for you to do something. The world lives and happens around you. You are part of that world, and you can mess with it. You can be part of it. But if you don't do anything, they will work without you, and things will happen without you. There can be quests where someone tells you, "We have to go right now," and if you don't go right now, they will leave without you, and then something will happen according to that. Or in that mission you played, there was a big argument between the two fencing schools that are like talking about who should or should not open up a fencing school in their town, and they're having this argument, and you as Henry can intervene there and try to take the side of one of those schools. If you don't do anything, one of them obviously will lose the argument, and they will then be expelled out of the city, which means that the game or the quest will play differently then, or continues differently. So your decisions and your choices and your the way how you play will affect, sometimes on a small scale, sometimes on a big scale, how the story unfolds in front of you. And the mission you played was just a tiny side quest.
Yeah.
So you imagine that there will be huge main quests where you as Henry have to decide, if we attack this fort right now with my crew, with my gang, with my friends, then it might be hard because there's a garrison inside and I might endanger the mission and my friends. But if we attack that village there first, then it might drive out the garrison. Mm-hmm. And the mission might be secured and your friends might be secured. However, you're endangering those civilians there. And if you think back of KCD1, this is exactly how the game started in KCD1. You were a civilian in a village that was attacked, not because the village was precious, but the guy who was attacking the village used it as a decoy for something else. So you are being put in the same situation of what happened to you earlier in time. And now you have to decide, and you are put into those huge crossroad decisions, these moral choices that is going on. And that's what I mean when I say that the game is generally like deeper and darker. It's also, of course, a lot more humorous than the first gun, but you also have those inner conflicts Henry has to deal with now.
Yeah. It just makes me think of, I don't know if it's really more of a meme, but a running joke with like the Zelda series. It's one of my favorite series, where in like Breath of the Wild, like there's Zelda's urgently waiting for you to take out Calamity Ganon because she's holding him back with her very last bits of power. And then you spend hundreds of hours just finding Koroks and just doing side missions and shield surfing.
Of course.
Urgency here.
But this comes from a different time where games were developed differently. So of course you had the people with the question marks or exclamation marks above their heads, and they're just waiting. Oh, I'm so happy that you just arrived. I have this problem, you stranger. Can you please do this for me? You say, of course, why not? So yeah, nothing wrong with that. I guess I played games when this was the standard, and it's kind of still is the standard. Gothic, for instance, if you guys played it, it works exactly like that. But we just try to take another route slightly, right? And don't make you the center of the universe, but just part of this grand scheme. And I think it's also interesting that you are not playing some kind of hero or king or lord or whatever, that you're just playing this peasant boy who gets torn into the civil war. And in KCD1, I always said you're kind of growing, or Henry is growing from this village bloke to kind of a man. And by that, I mean that he loses everything that was dear to him, his home, his family, his friends, everything. They all die. And you have to, and he and you have to really quickly grow up because the world is, or your world is being attacked. Everything, there's a war situation going on, and you really have to quickly hone your skills to be able to survive in that world. Now in KCD2, you became already someone. Well, you're still kind of a bloke. Henry is still good old Henry. However, you are now the squire of a noble guy. You are part of an envoy that is trying to deliver this. It's not a peace treaty. It's more of a like, hey, you lord, on which side are you? On this side or on the other side? But everything goes south, of course. And you have, and that's how we say, you have to now grow from a man to become a warrior, not a hero. Henry is not a hero. He will never be a hero. But you, as I said, you are going on the bigger stages now with the way bigger decisions going on. You have to again hone your skills and grow further. And Henry has to grow further.
Yeah. Like that. I mean, every once in a while it's nice to be a hero and have that power fantasy, but someone like Henry, I feel, is way more relatable to us gamers, and we want to root him on, you know? So I know I got attached for the little bit that I played. So all right. We do have some listener questions
Mm-hmm.
from Baron on X/Twitter. So I'll just go one by one because he
Mm-hmm.
kind of, shot a few specific questions. What weapon types will Henry be able to craft, and will you be able to break down gear you find for crafting resources?
Well, the blacksmithing is definitely the biggest addition, the biggest new addition, mini game wise. I don't want to go too deep into it,
Hmm.
but I can tell you already that you can absolutely craft, for instance, swords. So you can create your own swords there and your own weapons, kinda, or horseshoes and stuff like that. But it's I don't want to go too deep into
Yep.
that. So let's stick with swords and horseshoes for now.
Sounds good. Wink, wink. No, I'm just kidding. Will you be able to name weapons you've crafted?
Come again? Will I?
Will you be able to name your weapons that you've crafted,
Mm,
or do they just
we
come with
were
a
thinking
name?
about it for the longest time, and then due to people being people and us wanting to keep it somewhat civil and normal and so on, we decided let's not do that.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
All right, and the last one from Baron. Can I settle down in a town and live as a local blacksmith?
There's, I get those questions very often, like, oh,
Really?
can I be a lord of something? Can I usually or survival mechanics or so on? People are trying, they're like trying to connect the RPG that we are trying to deliver with other types of genres or games or so on.
Mm,
Like, how about we extend it to this or that? How about we make Sims out of it or whatever? No, we are creating this RPG thing with. If you know KCD1, then you kind of know what to expect. So it's first and foremost a story-driven RPG. The big difference is that you're not uh, alone anymore. What I mean by that, in KCD1, you usually are alone or tackle the things alone. In KCD2, now you're part of that group. It's not like you get companions all of a sudden, but you're, as I said, there's imagine Red Dead Redemption 2, the camp, so something like that. You
yep.
have those guys, and sometimes you do quests with them. So this is the main focus. But as we always did in KCD1, DLCs added some new mechanics and stuff. So we are thinking of that as well. Like the DLCs are the ones that are adding like new genre types or whatever to the game. However, I can't confirm whether that's future story. So we'll see. First, let's deliver the game and then see what we can add to it.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you, Baron. You're awesome. It was nice seeing you at PAX, and thank you for your questions.
If
I
it's the
have my
same Baron that I also know, then hi, Baron.
Yeah. Hey, Baron, Baron. Yeah, it probably is. He's awesome. We love that guy.
Yeah, of course, he's
All right.
amazing. Love him as well. Hey, Baron.
All right. I always like asking this question when we get more towards the end, just
Mhm.
because I think it's fun. And so I am a fan of physical media. I know we're trending towards more of a digital age, and that's fine. I have nothing against it, but just a, personal preference. If there's physical media, I do purchase them. If there's a collector's or deluxe edition, I tend to purchase them.
Mhm.
Um, and this is just hypothetical. I don't know what you guys are planning. If you're planning anything, I'm not trying to dig or poke, but so hypothetical, if it was up to you, Toby, just you,
Mhm.
no limits on funding or time or anything, and you could craft your own, speaking of crafting, KCD2 physical collector's edition, what would you want to put in it?
You know what's funny? The collector's edition we have is actually crafted by me. So the KCD2 collector's edition is, I did it personally. I put it together personally. I had to do it in a very early stage of development. So there's something like music or OST is not in there because by that time it was just not ready yet. So I couldn't put the OST into the box because there was no OST at that point. But the KCD2 collector's edition as it is, I'm super proud with it. I made um, I tried really hard that every single element that is in the game is in the box is tied directly to the game. So the chest in which it's inside is a chest from the game. The lockpick, the chest has a little. Unfortunately, it's not moving. In my
Yeah.
so the person the the best collector's edition would be if that would be actually. So I had this little lock picking thing on the chest on the box of
Mm.
the collector's edition. I was thinking that if you rotate it, a little hook can open up, and then you like the lock picking system in the game. Unfortunately, due to time and money, this was not possible. So in an ideal world, it would be still in there, but. I'm very happy with as it is. It has a very big statue in there, and as I said, all the elements inside the collector's edition are tied directly to the game. And my personal favorite, and that is something that most people most likely will not realize, at least not at this stage. However, KCD1 ends with a quest where all the lords are sitting together, everything is in the shits, and no one knows what's going on, and the enemies at the gates almost, and they're like, okay, we need to talk to this specific lord and ask him on which side he is because he might help us. And you and Hans Capon, your best friend, he gets a letter, and in this letter it asks you, "Hey Lord, how it's going? How is it going on? On which side are you?" Pretty much, and you are being sent with him as his squire, envoy, and you're going. So, and this is how KCD2 starts. You're still on the way. You have that letter, and you're trying to go to that castle. However, of course, a little spoiler: everything goes south. Your crew gets ambushed and attacked, and so on, and you lose that letter and you can't identify yourself anymore and no one will know who you are. So theoretically, you know what's inside this letter. Theoretically, you know it's this, hey, Lord, who are you? On which side are you? Let's work together. Practically, you never open it in the game. So as I said, you know kind of what's inside, but you can't confirm it because you never open it in the game. In the collector's edition, we crafted this letter. I talked to our designers. We put together. So okay, how could a letter like this look like? What were they typically talking about? Then we wrote it down. We actually hired a calligrapher here from Czech Republic, so someone who hand wrote this letter, like really with all the calligraphies and the paintings and everything inside. She mixed the colors together in a medieval way, how they were supposed to put that together, and so on and so on and so on. Long story short, we crafted that real letter that you're carrying around, and it's in the collector's edition. So if you are a proud owner of the collector's edition, you get that letter, and you will be the only one with the other owners to actually open the letter and see what's inside.
I urgently looked it up and I see it. So for
Yeah.
listeners here, you can pre-order this collector's edition at GameStop
Mhm.
and it looks beautiful. I'm gonna pre-order it as soon as I hang up on this call. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
That you
there's a console version on GameStop, and there is a PC edition. It's
mm,
called Final Boss Bundle, I think.
yeah,
Almost
the
like
console, yeah,
Boss Rush.
PS5, Xbox
Mhm.
Series X. Yes, I see that.
And there's a
So
PC version at Final Boss Bundle, I think is the name.
we'll make sure we put links to the collector's edition in here because
And that's the perfect Toby's collector's edition because I'm so proud of it, and I hope you like it as well.
oh, you should be because I don't know. sometimes collectors and deluxe editions can be mildly disappointing, but I'm looking at this and I'm like, I want that statue. I want that letter of hope. I want that
Mhm.
cloth map and I want the pin set.
Mhm.
So, oh,
Mm.
thank you. I'm glad we touched upon this.
Thank you.
All right. Well, as we slowly wrap up, I know we touched upon at the beginning
Mhm.
of the interview, but are there any other promotional events or items? So I know you have a couple of European circuits to go through, but
Mm.
reason why I mention that is I found that you guys are on PC Gamer cover, but when I
Mhm.
drove, I literally, I'm not kidding. I shut the computer and I drove to my local bookstore to go look for it. And then I realized it was at the UK or European
Oh,
edition. So sad.
yeah.
So I went online and I ordered a copy.
Oh, really?
Yes, I did.
Wow. There's a 10 page, it's a ten page special, so you're up for a treat, absolutely. So it
Yeah.
should be worth it, hopefully, for you. But of course, I'm 35. When I was like 10, 15, then paper magazine was the thing for me. I was buying them all the time, mainly because of the demos, the game demos inside, but and the cheat codes that were usually on the back, on the
Yes.
last pages. Yeah, there was a time, and I do love paper magazines. Still, I am very sad that Game Informer, unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
had to shut down after so many. They're from the early 90s, I think. Really
Yeah.
sad story, but generally, unfortunately, paper magazines are not holding up well. Uh, Times are changing, and that was always the case in history. So people have to adapt. But I'm a big fan of the magazine. So 1 second again.
Oh boy, I can't wait.
Of course, of course, I'm privately collecting them as well with the KCD covers and everything. So these are two Czech magazines, but yeah,
That looks lovely.
oh yeah, as I said, I'm a big fan of paper magazines, so I'm trying hard to be there. And of course, for me personally, it's still a prestige thing. But yeah, as I said, I guess many gamers don't care anymore. But us oldies, we do.
I was gonna say our generation, because I'm not. Let's just say we are very, very similar, if not the same age.
Yes.
So I grew up with video game manuals that I
Mhm.
love, so I'm trying to collect those and magazines. Like I have a lot of Nintendo Power. I was
Mm.
collecting some Game Informer. So that's, and yeah, we have to adapt. But while I still can, I want to support. I actually subscribe to, I believe it's based out of the UK. Yeah, the UK Patch Magazine. They're an
Mm-hmm.
indie magazine company, so I subscribe to them, support them. And like I
I
said,
was in the Lego club, so I got Lego mails every like physical letters. I think it was every month. I'm not sure, or every 2 weeks. I was a big fan.
yes, I love that. So that's why for me it was worth every penny when I saw that KCD2 made the cover of PC
Mm.
Magazine. I want it. So hopefully I'll
I
get that in the
haven't
mail soon.
I haven't got it myself yet. So it released last week
Was it today
Friday.
or last week?
No,
Oh, I
no,
don't know.
it released
Recently.
on 11th of October, I think.
Okay.
So I'm still waiting for my copies. I need
Okay.
them for myself as well, as you can see.
Yeah. Right.
But other
Well,
than that, promotional.
yeah.
Well, we of course we are getting closer and closer to the next big trailer reveal. So that is something
Mm,
we want to talk about soon. A huge new trailer. We want to generally in the campaign we want to introduce the story. So there might be a story trailer, something like that. We have to and want to introduce the characters. So by characters I mean, as I'm mentioning that there's a crew, it would be great if we introduce that crew in some point. So that is something we are planning slightly. Um, and some fun stuff with the real actors. With so by real actors, I mean Henry is played by Tom McKay, really amazing English actor, and Luke Dale is Hans Capen. So the two of them, they are not only syncing in game but also in real life. They're really amazing dudes, and we shot a few live action shenanigans with them. So that is also something that we want to release soon and see how the people react. A bit goofy, but I guess
I love
life
it.
is serious enough. So let's enjoy some goofy stuff.
Perfect. So a nice little heads up. So everyone keep your eyes and ears peeled for that.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's just start wrapping things up. Let me get through the boring housekeeping, and then we'll say our goodbyes. So,
Mhm.
if you want to support the Boss Rush podcast and the Boss Rush Network, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/Boss Rush Network at the tier that is right for you, earning perks such as early ad-free access to this and other podcasts, exclusive access to spotlight interviews, access threads, voting rights on Video Game Book Club, and more. That's patreon.com/Boss Rush Network. But as always, your listenership and viewership is always enough for us. If you're watching the video on YouTube, you could see Tobi wearing his hockey jersey and the shirt and
Yeah.
video game magazines. It's pretty cool. Hit that subscribe button and leave us a thumbs up or a comment. If you're listening on podcast services, yeah, there it is.
Mhm.
Please consider leaving us a review, and a rating. Also, check our merch on TeePublic with over 50 designs to rep your favorite shows and more. So, as always, you can check out all our content reviews and articles on bossrush.net. I did write a few articles covering KCD too. So, Tobi, thank
Mm.
you so much for your time. I had a wonderful conversation. It was a great, great time chatting with you.
Thank you very much. So I might be by the end of the year, I might be flying to Los Angeles to visit actually the Czech embassy in LA. So that is
Awesome.
really interesting. Maybe like a side anecdote that the Czech embassies all around the world are actually trying to identify with the game and use it as a somewhat of a cultural export of the country, which is a huge thing. You need to.
Hmm.
We never planned that. Absolutely not. It wasn't like let's do a game and represent the country, but it naturally happened somehow. Of course, if your game is successful, then it's easier to do that. Of course, you raise awareness and so on. But um, for instance, in Tokyo 2 weeks ago, I was also speaking at the Czech embassy in Tokyo. So it is great to have these opportunities. And KCD is for maybe for the Czech Republic something like The Witcher for Poland. So fingers crossed, and maybe see you in LA by the end of the year if you guys
Yeah,
are
keep me
around.
posted. I do
Absolutely.
think that is wonderful. I
Mhm.
believe it speaks to the quality of the game that you put out, the passion that your
Mhm.
team has, and rightfully so should, represent your, oh my goodness, that makes me happy to hear that. That's wonderful. Please keep me posted on that.
Absolutely will do.
All right. Well, thank you again, Tobi, and thank you everyone who's watching or listening to this episode of the Boss Rush Spotlight podcast, the interview series for the Boss Rush Network. You can catch new episodes on podcast services again on YouTube, and all that subscribing stuff. Sorry, Corey, I'm just getting through that outro. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night.
Thank you for having me. Take care.
Bye.
If you want to see how you can become a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/BossRushNetwork. The Patreon producers for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, Matthew Keel, and Todd Oxtra. Thanks for your continued support of the Boss Rush Network.